Now, how is Paul Bocuse making the world famous macaroni and cheese? I say his version. This is called the Gratin de Macaroni. Nothing new. It's been around for 60 years, the Gratin de Macaroni, served as a side dish. And in his book, he's got one version that actually differs from the very first one he had on national television in 1976. I've added the link to that video that you can watch. And that first iteration was using absolutely lots of cream. And the modern version is using less cream and much more milk. But I'm going to be fusing the two to get something just right in between. So yes, the technique is different. Would it qualify the macaroni and cheese? I don't know. You can tell me. What I can tell you is that there is no flour, there's no eggs, and we're not really making a white sauce. Away from that, the ingredients, Paul Bocuse being Paul Bocuse, he always stressed the fact, especially here, to use pastas that are made in France. And you would believe or not, it is true, we do make pasta in France. So let's have a look at the ingredients. So here are the ingredients and the famous pasta that are made in France. This is the brand. I'm showing you the brand because this is the most iconic, oldest, most successful brand that all of the French people from my generation have known. I've grown up on that stuff. It dates from the 1940s and it is still in shops today in 2026. It is amazing. What's so special about those? Why I picked these? Because they got always that label on here, if you can see, that says Fabriqué en France, blé 100% France. I mean, it is fully manufactured in France with wheat that is 100% French. It is grown and harvested in France, but the brand has got an Italian name, Panzani, and this is the little story here. The lovely story that we have about food. Jean Panzani, named Giovanni, was the son of a family of migrants coming from Italy that were living in France. And that lovely man from Italy loved France, stayed in France, he fought in the war for France, and after the war he was nationalized as a French person. But he wanted also to share his lovely products from his country, and he decided to make pastas, which he did in his attic in the 1940s by hand. And he was drying pasta in the back of wooden chairs. And people were fascinated, they started buying the pasta. It was a huge success. A few years later, he went commercial and created that brand, the Panzani pasta. That was a very special type of pasta because it was really a cross between the two nations. We love Italian products, but he wanted to make a pasta that is fully made in France. So there we have it. A French pasta has been created by an Italian man living in France all his life, and we've been loving the pasta ever since. Okay, for the rest of the ingredients, we've got the milk, cream, some garlic, some onion, some herbs, and we've got some Comté cheese. Typically it's Emmental cheese, but you will see the process of making this pasta is very easy. So let's go on the stove and discover that. So let's begin the recipe. The technique here used by Bocuse is simple. It's the same used for the gratin dauphinois, where we are par cooking the macaroni in a mixture of milk, creams, herbs, onions, and aromatic. When they are par cooked, we're going to transfer this to a cast iron dish, and this is what he's using. I only have a skillet, and I'm making a small portion for two. And the dish is going to be buttered with, plenty of butter and some garlic, and rubbed with garlic, so we have plenty of taste. Cheese on top, cooked in the oven, and we'll be done. Okay, so let's start by warming up the milk and cream. So as I said, I'm making a bit of a hybrid from between the original and the new recipe. So I'm using a mix of equal amounts of milk and cream. So I've got 250 ml of milk, 250 milliliters of cream. The herbs is parsley and sage, fresh. So I'm not bothering of cutting anything, I'm just in there. Okay, and then a small onion, and I'm gonna add some salt and pepper. A bit of seasoning, a bit of salt, we don't need to be bland. A bit of pepper, and we're gonna bring this to a simmer. So while the milk and cream is slowly warming up, we can prepare the dish. So cast iron, I'm using a skillet, and we're going to be using a hand, so wash your hand always, and it's always the same. We can crush the garlic, just garlic bulbs. I used to crush them like that. And you just rub, this is what Paul Bocuse seems to do, just rubbing the bottom with the garlic. So I'm going to leave some pieces of garlic at the bottom as well, I mean, why not? So the dish has been coated with the garlic, and then we are very generous. And again, we're going to coat the inside. We rub the garlic and the butter together, and you're going to put this absolutely everywhere on the dish. That's going to be the typical Paul Bocuse, very fatty beginning of a dish. My dish has been buttered. There's plenty of garlic. I've cleaned the sides, and now you can preheat the oven at 180 degrees Celsius. I put the equivalent Fahrenheit, and I'm using a conventional heat because Paul Bocuse at the time had a conventional oven. There was no fan forced, and he says you have to use a low temperature for a long time. Okay. But otherwise, if you really, if you don't want to stress, you can try the 180 with the fan force on, and just let me know how it went. By the time we're doing this, the milk is ready to go. So what I'm going to do here. I've got only 150 grams of macaroni. I'm going to raise the heat in here, medium. I'm going to cook this for 5 minutes. Now make sure you do have a little boil going on, even at medium heat. And if it feels too dry, add a splash of milk. And also keep on the time. These are pastas that require a certain cooking time. The pasta you may be using are maybe harder, they use a longer cooking time. So 5 minutes is a ballpark. If you need 6 minutes or a bit more to blanch them, you can do that, it's not a problem. Alright, so I was basing myself with the measurement from the book, and it looks a little bit dry, but what we're going to do here first, I'm going to discard the onion, the herbs, and then we're going to transfer these lovely pastas here onto our dish. So we've got our buttered dish on here. I'm going to put everything on here. Lovely. And then of course we need to add a few more ingredients, starting with more butter. Okay, so first thing first, Paul Bocuse adds plenty of extra butter in his recipe. As I told you, the original recipe was really fat. So he first put the butter and went to mix that through. Take a little spoon. I'm just going to try to mix that butter in there. And we have to then cover this with more cream because as you can see here, it's very, very dry. Alright, so when you add cream, typically, as Paul Bocuse, you need to warm it up. So I've got an extra 200 ml of cream. And we want the liquid to be fully absorbed by the end, by the pastas. So you see it was very dry, but see with the butter, all of the cream that I've got on here, it starts to be very good. I think, oh look, I'll put the 200 ml, just in case. It might be a little bit much there. I'll give you the final measurement that I've used, but I think we're pretty good. We don't want anything more than that. You know, we don't want to soak the pasta, we need this to be absorbed. To finish, of course, macaroni and cheese. The gratin de macaroni happens with cheese, so you want a generous cover. I'm thinking here about at least 150 grams of cheese all over, and I'm using Comté cheese, which is very stringy. And it's a bit of salt, so be careful with the salt amount that you put in there. And I want to make sure there's a really nice coating of cheese on here, because if you don't have enough, you're not going to have that really gratiné thing, that crust, that cheesy crust needs to form. It needs to stay on this. What do you think? Should be enough? I think we should be good. So cooking times, because Paul Bocuse was using a very large dish and it was saying 40 to 45 minutes at 180, I'm using a very small skillet and a small amount of pasta. So I'll just tell you how long it took me at the end. Okay, so I'll put this into the oven, 180, let's go. Okay, so here we are, the gratin de macaroni is out of the oven and I'm not totally satisfied with the result. I think there was a lot of oil in there and I don't know if it should have been less cream that I put at the end to really have soaked up everything. You see, it didn't create an entire gratin. It was, pockets of too much oil from the cheese. And this is the first look of what we have. I mean, still edible, I'm sure. So let me grab a plate and we'll try it out. So I've got a little plate on here, but first let's have a look at the inner part of here, the pastas, the macaroni, see what happens. So you see it's supposed to have absorbed everything on here. It is quite cheesy, quite creamy. See, it's not too bad, not too bad. Okay, not too bad. See this a little bit as a mac and cheese, if you can see it like that. I'm just going to have a little spoon. It is very rich. You won't see me in there, but okay. You know what? The taste of this French pasta, sometimes I forget. Actually, you can it's really cheesy. It's creamy, it's really sticky. But it's pretty nice because you don't have the flour in there. So it's not like when you have the white sauce and it becomes really, really kind of dry in the mouth and very sticky. Here it's kind of savory, oily and buttery. You know, it's actually really good. So one thing I would say, you need to eat this very quick and hot because it really starts to, look at the cheese. It needs to dry up very quickly. And I can really feel the herbs, you know, it was cooked in the sage and the garlic at the bottom. Let's take more. Okay, for the last little test, and these little crunchy bits on the side you can detach. That's where all the cheese, we're gonna dig out. I want to show you under. You see, always nice and moist, and you got these crunchy, tender bits that you can pick, you see, with the cheese pulling off, and the Conte here works pretty well. Okay, so what is my verdict here for the Bocuse-inspired macaroni and cheese, the Gratin de Macaroni? Absolutely stunning. The man knows his flavor combination. Yes, it's a bit fatty, but it is a great departure from the classic macaroni and cheese that you kind of look for the cheese and a bit of white sauce. Well, this is his flavor bonanza. You got the garlic at the bottom, the sage, the herbs, the pasta cooked in milk. They're much more tender, much more flavorsome. It is seasoned. You have the cheese that mingles and that fattiness around the pasta. It is kind of welcome as well because, you know, it is the type of dish. And I absolutely love it. If you've never tried that version, absolutely something you need to try. So let me know in the comment section what you think. For the cooking times, I didn't tell you about that. 180 you can do fan force. I've tested out with the conventional heat. It was a bit slow. Use fan force, 30 to 40 minutes and you'll be absolutely done. So I'll leave you with that beautiful picture as always, and next time we're going to do something different. I'm going to start a bit of simple baking for all the home cooks or the green bakers and people that are not like me, that don't bake very often, with a cake that is very versatile and also that we do in France a lot. So I'll see you then next time. Take care all. Bye bye.